Well, hello everyone, and I just wanted to say thank you very much for hanging in there and joining us in the new Treat Fairy Studios. I am live with the most fabulous Danielle Beck, the geeky dog trainer, here for some positive pet advice, coming to you with Miss Vicki Farrin Cook, a veterinary nursing manager in the UK, and we're going to be talking a little bit on pets at the vets. What things should you be doing with your pets to set them up for that wonderful experience at the vet, whether it be for an emergency or just those yearly checkups. So thank you so much, Danielle, for joining us, and thank you for coming to your new channel here. Are you excited as I am for this?
I am. I just hope it works.
I hope that today is going to be the lovely day that maps out the rest of our wonderful growth here in the studios. For those of you that don't know, Miss Danielle Beck and I are admins on a group on Facebook called Positive Pet Advice, where we go ahead and answer your comments, questions, concerns, and just give you our overall professional and personal opinions. So, Danielle, why don't you tell us a little bit about our guest today?
Yeah, this is Vicky. But apparently it says my stream's offline.
Your stream is offline.
Apparently.
Let's check again.
Before I go and dive into the wonderful world of Vicky.
Yes. Yes. I am searching. It says I'm live right now, so this could be rather entertaining.
It could. If part of us are live and the other part isn't. It's live stuff, yeah.
This could be rather entertaining. I got you.
It could. If part of us are live and the other part isn't. On my channel?
Yeah, I got you. So what I'll do is
Okay, no worries. As long as you can see me, I guess.
Did you get the link?
I got something.
You got something.
I got something. Ta-da. It says it's offline. It doesn't matter. As long as you can see me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can see you right now.
Can you
Plus
jump
I'm
on my channel,
recording,
please,
so
to see if I...
very, we've got this under control.
Okay, it's not, I believe you. Hi everyone. Okay, this is Vicky. Vicky is a veterinary nursing manager, and she's got over 22 years of experience working in a vet practice. So hopefully there are lots of fun stories and things for us to share and talk about, because going to the vets is something that every animal will have to do at some point in their lives.
Yes.
And it baffles me personally how our colleagues that work in zoos can get the tigers and the giraffes to voluntarily lean into a needle for a vaccination or to have a blood drawn, yet we can't, or our tabby cat into a container and take it to a vet. We can't take our dog in to have, its ears looked at or its mouth opened. So we're going to have a chat about what we can actually do to help these animals. What can you do as pet owners to prepare your animal for actually, coping with a visit to the vet? So what kind of things do you normally see, Vicky, in your day-to-day world?
Well, first of all, is getting through the front door.
Oh, that's useful.
It's always a start. So the common one that I can think of off the top of my head is extending flexi leads.
Oh, okay, yeah. Not a fan of those.
Person opens up the front door,
Yeah.
comes into the waiting room,
Okay.
the door closes behind, and the dog is still outside on the flexi line. Quite comical. But when people book in, I say, do you want to bring your dog as well? And the dog's outside going, oh, you're going in.
It's not like it.
So that,
Apparently
I
my
think,
stream isn't
is
on.
the first one. Cool.
Can you hear anything? YouTube.
The dog's outside going, oh, you're going in.
Oh, so people literally walk in the door. Dogs out the door.
Yeah, it all starts from there. Well, probably actually when they get in the car from leaving home.
See, I'm not a fan of flexi leads to begin with, but
yeah,
So
flexi leads in the right way, they're great, but some people just don't pay attention to them, especially in a small waiting room.
I mean, what do you see from... Do you get the other end of the spectrum where people come without anything attached to their animals, where they just sit holding...
In the right way. Yeah, so a lot with people like with small dogs, they don't walk them, they carry them. So they carry them into the waiting room as well with no lead. And then when they get into the waiting room, they put the dog on the floor, which is not attached to anything.
So it runs off.
Well, it either runs off or a dog comes through the door that doesn't like other dogs in its vicinity.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine we have spare leads to say, please put your dog on a lead. And the other one is cat. But yeah.
Oh, by the way.
But it happens.
But cats.
And the other one is cats. People don't bring cats in baskets. They carry them.
Why would you carry a cat? They've got like claws of death and 5 legs.
But also, personally, from my point of view, working in the surgery I do, we're on a busy main road. Oh. So you open up the door, and I unfortunately had this happen many a time, where the person said, oh no, I'll be all right carrying it. And the door's opened, the cat's scrabbled, gone out the front door, straight across the main road. So it's quite sad sometimes, but...
I mean, on the plus side, they're really close to the vet should something happen, but that's not what I'm doing.
But then I begrudge putting a note up in the window saying, cat lost from vets, because it wasn't my fault the cat was lost.
Oh, no.
It was the owner. So, yeah.
It ran away.
Yeah, and sometimes they get them back and sometimes they don't. But yeah, leads and cages is your first.
Yeah. I mean, do you get people that bring in like snakes wrapped around their necks, or kind of rabbits and guinea pigs and like hamsters? I mean, what's like the weirdest animal that you see in the vet?
We're a small animal vet, so we're dogs, cats, rabbits. Although many a year ago we had a pet sheep. Which was called Minty. It was called Minty. And it came in on a collar and lead.
Okay. And sheep like groups. Why would you have a sheep? Okay.
Well, I think the sheep might have been a bit scared in a waiting room full of dogs and cats.
Yeah, I was gonna...
well, I would be too. I would be too if I've never gone to the vet before, and
you're a sheep.
Just surrounded by dogs.
I mean, do you get many kind of complications in the waiting area when you've got like prey and predator species near each other?
Unfortunately, we've got a small waiting room, so it isn't an ideal waiting room. If I could have my own way, it would be separated. So you could have a dog waiting area and a cat waiting area. Or shelving up above to put your cat baskets on. Yeah, would be great, but it just can't be done where we are, unfortunately. So people put their cats on the floor in the basket, and a dog comes along and sniffs the cat, and the people go, "Oh, it's all right. He likes cats." Yes, but the cat doesn't like dogs. That it doesn't know, even if it's got its own dog, and that cat might well be stuck on the vet's face by the time it gets put into the consultation room, because they're so fired up.
Yeah, so that's a big thing for
in the waiting room. Yeah.
Because for those that don't know much about cats, is that they feel safe up high. Right. So the higher up they are, the more calmer they tend to be. So if you've got a cat in an enclosed space, that's a stressed-out cat to begin with. Particularly if you've not trained the animal to actually go into the cat basket, you've had to like wrestle and shove it in there. It's then low down with everything else coming down on it. But I love the idea of cat shelves in a vet practice. That'd be amazing.
That would be brilliant. But then it'd be really bad for the little old lady who could put a basket on top.
Maybe not fully devised.
Our dog's trying to jump up to the shelf. But in an ideal world, you would have separate waiting areas, but unfortunately we can't all have what we want.
What kind of advice would you give to cat owners then to make that trip less stressful for them?
I would definitely suggest having the cat basket out in your living room for a week. If you knew you were coming to the vet, have your basket out with your jumper in it that you've worn.
Yeah.
So it smells of you, and the cat's got used to it. Feed the cat treats in there. Leave the door open, and then that's desensitizing it to the big scary basket.
Yeah.
And then it would come to the vets and hopefully be transported in that basket a bit easier because it's been used to sleeping in there.
Yeah.
And the next stage is travelling in the car.
Yeah.
A lot get stressed with that. So, perhaps just do sat in with the engine running is a good one, and then back out and let out into the living room again.
Do you ever recommend with any of your clients things like Feliway, like in the car or in the carry case, to kind of help?
There's Feliway and there's Pet Remedy and sprays. And people do ask for them, especially if they're travelling a distance, for example, moving home. So, it is a great idea in hindsight, but money is an issue. So people can't afford to buy products that they don't know are going to work.
Yeah.
Right.
So I appreciate that money is an issue. So if the products are not available to that person, then getting the basket out and getting a safe basket, because there's some cardboard boxes are a waste of time. They're a waste of money.
Do you ever have people that kind of swing them around and don't use two hands when they're carrying them?
Yes.
The animals are like
and the bottom's not. Yeah, the bottom's
I like
not
the one with the
attached.
strap on it, and people just throw it over their shoulder like a backpack, and like
They swing it round.
Yeah. But as far as like finance goes, it doesn't cost a lot to teach your animal to go into a carry basket.
No.
It's free.
It's free. You can use their food. You can use cat treats. You can use bits of meat that's lying around. And teach them to go in and out of something is a relatively easy task as far as training goes. It's just either target training or it's stationing. So you have your box there, you put some food and things in there. It'll go in, especially if it's a new one. Cats are relatively curious. So, a new dark box up on a high shelf, they're going to go into it. It's a cat.
I like to always point out, too, make it part of the furniture.
Yeah.
If you just make it something that's consistent in the house, the cat can see it on a regular basis. You don't necessarily have to, feed them in it, but if you toss one or two in it a day or a morning, and it just encourages them to go in there on a regular basis, similar to nail trimming. I don't tell people, go out and cut all your dog's nails in one day. Obviously, you might not be able to get there. But if you only get one done that day, then just do that one that day. Or if you get two done that day, then do the two that day. If you make it consistent and part of your schedule, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also from the angle of for the cat basket, if the cat is coming in for an operation for the day, it then goes into a kennel that's got a bed in it.
Yeah.
So another good thing is if your jumper is in there or the blanket is in your cat basket, that can go in the kennel to make it feel more homely. But also personally, what I found effective was leave the cat in the basket and turn it around so it can't see what's going on by, because it's had getting in a box, travelling in a car, it's coming to the vets,
right?
And as we all know, they can smell lots more than us.
Yeah.
And busy, noisy waiting area. And then so I leave them in the basket for about half an hour. They're really comfy in there. So trying to think of the best for the pet, because it's going to be having surgery.
Yeah, I mean, with regards to like the smell, because vet practices obviously have like a very unique smell to them. And even as people, when you walk in, it can be overwhelming for us. So for our animals, a lot worse. As a small animal practice, what are your recommendations with regards to like your social furry species, like your rabbits, your guinea pigs? Because they're very scent oriented, especially if they live together. So separating them and having one coming back smelling of something completely different can often trigger some kind of fighting behaviours. So do you have any kind of protocols and things in place that you'd recommend to your clients?
Sometimes, dependent on what the problem is with the pet, it might be worthwhile if they've got 2 rabbits, bring them both.
Yeah.
So they both go back at smelling of the same thing, and they're not separated as well.
Yeah.
Also things like washing your hands before handling, because you sat in the waiting room, you touch a chair, then maybe a dog sat on that chair, and then you're getting your rabbit out. So just hygiene.
Yeah.
And also rubbing down with straw or hay or whatever bedding it is that you've used on the rabbit that you've had treatment on is another good one. It's the birds that we don't see too many, but birds and rabbits go into shock so easily, especially with handling of birds, because they're just, you can have hold of them 1 minute quite alive and next minute they're not.
They've just gone.
Yeah, they just get shocked so easy. And rabbits, we only see rabbits when they're really, really poorly, because of the species that they harbour that they're poorly.
Yeah.
So when we see them, they're actually really ill.
They're really, really
ill. And then you're messing with them to try and find what the problem is.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that can take them as well.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that me and Neil were discussing last week was about kind of general husbandry training for your animals and teaching them to be okay with being handled and picked up with regard to birds and parrots and things. Teaching them to be okay being wrapped up in towels. Have it as like a bit of a game for them. Teach them to go on and off weighing scales, particularly with your prey species. And I deal with a lot of lizards and things as well. And with a lot of your prey species, they will not show that they're ill until they literally can't hide it anymore. By which time, as vets, you're struggling to kind of keep them alive. Whereas if you taught them to jump on a weighing scale once a week, losing weight is generally one of the first signs of illness in most of the animals. So if you can start to monitor that, you can get them in early. If they're used to being handled or manoeuvred, it just reduces that stress when they get to the vets. It makes your job easier. And it's such stuff for people to actually do.
And safer for the pet, because it's a life or death situation.
Literally.
At the end of the day for that one. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the more, and it's even bad enough with the dogs and cats, because they don't like being messed with by weirdo stranger in green tunic with anal gland face smells of the waiting room.
Yeah.
And if you had a light that showed everything on the floor, I think people would realise how much smell there is on that floor, even though you're cleaning like 3 times a day.
Yeah.
That smell's ground in on the walls, on the floors, on the tables.
Clothes.
Yeah.
Clothes. I go home every night stinking. My dog thinks it's great.
I mean, one of the questions that we got asked in our group was about muzzles. What's the view on using muzzles in veterinary practice?
Good question.
So do you have muzzles in your practice? Do you have muzzles for different species, or is it just canine muzzles?
We have just canine muzzles.
Okay.
And we towel wrap for cats.
Yeah.
If you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have basketball muzzles and the normal sort of Mickey type ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, tricky situation, because needs must some pets are poorly and sore, and they're gonna bite.
Yeah.
And they've not been handled, so they're not used to having a muzzle on. So yeah, catch-22. It's really difficult, because you've got to think about safety first for us.
Absolutely.
The owner, because the owner always sticks their hands around the mouth because they want to comfort their dog.
Yeah.
And they get bit, and we're actually liable for that. So yeah, it's a tough bucket. More desensitisation to muzzles was done at other points, that would make it so much easier.
Yeah, because I was discussing to you earlier before we started the stream that in the puppy classes that I used to teach, we used to do muzzle training with our puppies. And it would be very much kind of having some peanut butter at the end of the muzzle or some treats and using it as a food bowl, and just getting them to voluntarily kind of put the muzzle on and just, take them for a walk with it on, sit with them at the TV with it on. So it becomes just another piece of equipment the dogs are used to, because at some point in their lives, the vast majority of dogs are going to be muzzled at some point. If it's
at one day, at some time.
Yeah, either at the groomers or at the vets. Even if you've got a dog that isn't necessarily an aggressive one or a nervous one, there might be a vet that is just, it's standard practice that when you do this procedure, all animals are muzzled. You've got vets that specialize. I know one of the vets in my local practice is great with everything, but aren't too keen on dogs. They've been bitten several times, so when they do anything that's up close with a dog, regardless of how friendly it is, that animal is muzzled, and it's for their safety. If a vet gets their hand bitten, that's surgery. That's their livelihood gone.
Right.
And I think a lot of owners tend to forget this, and it's not nice for animals to be cornered and have this thing shoved on their face. It's highly stressful for them in an already stressful environment, and that extra stress is going to affect any blood tests that they need to have. Any urine samples and things like that. And it's such a simple thing, again, that people could be teaching at home, that they can make fun. And I've seen a few things on Facebook recently of people that have been muzzle training their dogs just for fun, which is wonderful. Use it as a fun exercise, use it as a target training exercise, even things like teaching them, like a hand target, so they can have the nuzzle, onto your hand as you get used to doing little vaccinations and things. These aren't difficult things that people, they can't be teaching them. It's easy, but it does so much to help our animals.
Yeah. Also, on that point, I think, I've seen, in the UK, they're not popular, thankfully. The muzzles that have really cute pictures on them, like a duck, duck beak and whatnot, and straight away. Someone sent me the link to that, and I was like, yeah, they look really cute, but they're actually really dangerous because they're eye-catching, and kids love to touch and pull things that look cute and cuddly. And definitely stay away from anything like that.
It's actually funny that you bring that up, is because this kind of ties in. I've seen it more in the UK than here in the US, where people that have dogs that are reactive or they're shy or whatever, they have different color leashes for them. Okay, this brings up a huge issue for me, because that can be such a liability. Because now I know your dog is going to bite me. Thank you very much. Let me collect that paycheck. And I know it's horrible to sound, but so many people actually think that way. And so unfortunately, it puts a huge liability on the person that's walking their dog, because potentially that could be a dangerous situation. And here you are wearing like a billboard about about your problems, like so as well as it could be a great thing, it can also be a really, really bad thing. So just because we see those wonderful, cute ideas out there and we think that they could be awesome, we have to sometimes wonder, is that designer muzzle actually built for safety, or is it just built for the look of it? So is it actually going to potentially save you from harm, or could it potentially break and then, we're just up the same creek without a paddle?
Yeah, I mean, especially with muzzles, and because depending on the muzzle that you get, some of them are really safe.
Right.
Like there's, in the UK, I don't know if you've got the same in the US, Neil, but we've got like the fabric type muzzles that are great kind of quick on and off kind of things to get things done. Yeah. The amount of people I see out walking their animals with those on, this is something that prevents your dog from opening its mouth.
Oh, yeah.
They can't sweat if they can't open their mouth. They can't. So they overheat really quickly in those. You've got your Baskerville muzzles, which are like the basket types.
Right.
And we have two of those. There's like the old style, like a cream sort of colour that are really narrow holes. Mm-hmm. They're really good. And then you've got the new ones that are bigger, so you can get treats in. The dogs can bite to a degree through those, but not a huge amount. And they brought those out in different colours. There was like a blue one and a pink one at one point, which I don't know if they do still do, but I love the pink one. I really want to get one for my dog. But even with the muzzles, it's making sure they're secure, because a lot of dogs can just grab a paw and wipe them off.
Exactly.
Measuring it and kind of putting like a stitch or something in the lining, so you know that they can't actually get them off, to make it safe for your dog when they go out to the vets or to the park or
Absolutely.
wherever it is that they're going.
Absolutely. I like to point out too that this is why I introduce everyone that comes through a program of mine. They will automatically be introduced to a gentle leader. And the reason being is because it's the first step to getting them antiquated to a muzzle. So if they do happen to need it, they understand that the charging and association is the same. So we're going to change the item, but I want you to implement it in the exact same manner. So this way it helps them learn to understand how to grow with the dog as the dog goes and becomes older and they go on to different things in their lifestyles. They'll actually be able to take what they've learned and apply it into other avenues. So this is one of those main reasons why I firmly believe, gentle leader is a great place to go. Not just because we're going to use it to train your dog to stop, pulling, but it can also turn us into more mindful handlers on how could this potentially benefit me in the future. And I think that's something that's very beneficial, especially with, veterinary practices, is what can I do now to benefit my dog in the future? What kind of handling can I do now to benefit them later on? Touching their paws on a regular basis. I tickle them. I grab nubs. I tickle abdomens. I do all sorts of different things because I don't want the dog to be afraid of the handling in any way. A dog goes to the vet once a year if it's
lucky.
If it's lucky.
Yeah.
So, think about that. If you have that one dog that's just going in for its annuals, when was the last time it had an abdominal, check? When was the last time it had any of those things done outside of that actual room? So, just think about some of these things that, if I could pass on anything from today's episode, it would totally be to think about what you could do now to prevent issues in the future.
Yeah, and
Behavior
things like social visits
or whatever, it's always the same.
Yeah, well, social visits to your vets, especially if you've got a local veterinary practice that can be on a walk with your dog or a short car journey, particularly if you've got little puppies, take them to the practice, get them to do a sit. Get them to do a sit on the weighing scales. Ask the vet nurse to come and give them a cuddle. Get them used to being fussed and treated. I mean, do you have anything like that in your practice?
I'm always encouraging puppy owners, come in, come and have a weigh, come in, let's have a play. I absolutely love it when the waiting room is quiet and I can spend 10-15 minutes going through, touching their paws, ears, open their mouth. Open their mouth is really, really important for having things stuck, which happens.
Yeah.
Check under their tail. People don't look under their dog's tail. And there are medical conditions that there can be growths under there later on in life. So being able to check your dog all over, like you're saying, tickle the tummy, but also doing that general fun thing is you doing an examination at home of what's normal and what's not normal on your dog's body.
Yeah.
So if a lump occurs and you thought that wasn't there before, then you would notice it quite quickly because you're touching your dog all over. And I give my dog a massage every morning for just 5 minutes. We have that intimate cuddle time and he loves it. But doing this, and I love it. And it's like, doing this, it just means he gets a body check over. And one morning I noticed he had a lump under his arm. And I thought, that wasn't there yesterday. Kept an eye on it. And then I could go back into work and say, been there a week now and it is growing. And all this, it's in a really difficult place. Yeah. So if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have noticed it. So, seeing things like that and telling people to check their dogs and their cats all over.
Yeah. I mean, would you recommend people that had like other animals, so like birds or rabbits or animals that aren't going to the vets as often, would you still recommend a social visit to them to try and de-stress them? Or do you think that moving them from their original environment might be too stressful? Or is that the controversial side of it?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think personally it's too stressful environment for going if the owner's doing, coming in with a rabbit or a bird.
Yeah.
I think it's too stressful, really.
Now,
and I
would you be against the travel? Do you think that getting them associated with going into the car, moving somewhere, just go to the vet, walk in, let them smell, and then leave? So you're not really just setting them up to fail in the, let's sit here and get all stressed out and hot and bothered. Instead, we're just going on a field trip. We're going to stop in, we're going to say hello, and then we're going to leave. I would totally tell every single person is as much handling or travel or anything you could do absolutely possible. Now, if it's something that's very companion based, something that's very communal, in their species, I wouldn't necessarily recommend taking them, out for the 15 minutes, with Vicki on the scale, and because she's got the moment to do that. I think that might be a little bit too far to go. However, I don't want them to be afraid of the smells of the vet. I don't want them to be afraid of being in the vehicle and the vehicle moving. Different things that they might, start to like. We've had some previous episodes. It was actually on another channel, but one of the ones I host, and we were talking with a behaviorist, and she was explaining to us how she actually brings like her parrots out on walks, and she puts them in backpacks and like does all this other fun stuff. And I was like, how awesome is that, just for the enrichment of the lifestyle, being able to do that, because that's an animal or a species we often see they don't go out and do things like that because we know that they can go into shock, or we know that they can be too stressed. And here we are completely changing that entire persona of the species because they've become accustomed to it. So I think it's
so glad you brought that up, Neil.
important to come accustomed to the travel, the handling, the how to apply the burrito and the dog actually understand it, or the cat understand how to be wrapped up in the towel and to do all of that, and I'm not one to say every animal needs to be in a burrito. I like to do as minimal force as possible, but safety first. If we need to do that for that situation to be as safe as possible for the vet, the veterinary nurse or technicians here in the United States, for the owners. Most owners don't realize. They think that, oh, my dog is stressed, let me go and calm it down. Well, you're just as susceptible to injury as we are, because as we all know, bites can be redirected. And so even though we don't want it to happen, it still can happen. So it's extremely important that they understand that as the veterinary manager, you're there looking out for everybody's well-being, not just the animals. You're also looking out for your employees, the doctors, and the owners who are there, because they're coming there for your expertise, for your services, and these are the ones you have to provide, from a safety scale. If these are those requirements, then we should be training our pets accordingly to those requirements in practice.
Yeah, and that brings us on really nicely to something that we're doing next week on the chats.
Okay.
Is Elaine Henley, the lady that I'm assuming you're talking about with regards to the parrots and the backpacks.
Yes, you are correct. Hello, Elaine.
Yeah, she is coming on the show next week, and we're actually going to talk about development. And getting it right early from the start, because with regards to what you were saying, Vicki, about bringing some of the species into the practice will be too stressful for them. If you can enrich their lives early on, if you can expose them to novel experiences early on in that developmental stage, you've got to reduce the stress that they're going to feel in any situation. So Elaine and I are going to delve into that kind of side of things. because it links on quite nicely to what people can do right from the start with regards to going to the vet practice, just building them up for life in general.
Absolutely.
And how that can actually affect. That was a nice little link. So hi, Elaine, if you're watching.
Hello, Elaine.
She'll be joining us next week as we get into the science of that. But I have just seen that someone has asked a question on one of the sites, and it's how do you deter a dog from nervous licking of their feet? Which is something that, as a behaviourist, I see a lot. In the vet practice, you're going to see a lot, because there's the medical reasons, the behaviour sides of things will interlink quite nicely. So that's something that we can't really answer in full form now. But again, a muzzle would obviously deter, but it's finding out the root cause as to why it's licking its feet. Mm-hmm. Would you agree, Ricky, or have you got any other reasons?
Yeah, I would definitely say go to the vets, because there's two clinical reasons why the dog could be doing that. So I would think it would need an examination by the vet to determine on what the problem is. But we see it an awful lot. It is very common. So yeah, definitely go to the vets. Some people will say put the Elizabethan collars on to stop it. Yeah. I would say go to the vets rather than put one of them on, because it'd be like having an itchy nose and your hands were tied behind your back. It's not very fair.
No, and I think with particularly licking is if the dog is doing something, for that reason. If it's a nervous lick, it's stopping the animal from performing that behaviour. It's finding out what's causing the animal to do that behaviour in the first place and addressing the root cause, not just the symptom. It could be nervous licking, it could be an anxiety thing, it could have a grass seed stuck, it could be acrylic lick, it could be a compulsive disorder. There are so many reasons why dogs are going to start licking body parts.
Yeah, and the classic is it could be in pain. Yeah, and it's doing the licking on its paws because it's in pain somewhere else. So if anybody ever rings,
dogs will lick paws, and what people don't realize is they jump around, they move, they do things. My dogs, they intro in agility, and they're in and out of my pickup truck. They can have a hairline fracture in one of those little digits down there, and so they lick because it's in a lot of pain. But what we only see is what's on the top. We don't see what's underneath. So we should look for some swelling. We should look for tenderness. So don't always assume that because a dog is licking somewhere that, there's something on the top of the skin. It could be something underneath the epidermal layer. It could be something that's going on in the mind. It could be, obsessive compulsive disorder, like we said. It could be boredom. It could be all sorts of different things. So I would definitely say that I would want to get that seen by a veterinarian as soon as possible, just so that way we know exactly what it is, or we can start to figure out some of those root causes, or start to link some other symptoms to it as well.
Yeah. Also on that point, if I could mention that I hear an awful lot of owners that say, but he's not in any pain. The dog is lame, but he's not in any pain. And yeah, because he can't go, my bloody leg is killing me. He can't talk.
Well, I think sometimes they assume that the dog would be crying or whimpering or barking, or it would be making some sort of a vocalization over the pain. And what people don't realize is that many of the species we have as companion pets, they don't verbalize their vocalization. Most of their communication is all done through body language, and therefore we're going to miss a lot of the actual information that we should be receiving in order to treat them, because we have a block against that vocalization, and we think that everything has to be verbal, or that they're going to give us some sort of a sound, and they don't.
Yeah. I've seen a cat, for instance, come in with 3 legs. And it didn't cry. It didn't mind being picked up. In fact, it didn't do very much. But it must have been very painful. And it managed to get home, and we got it sorted. Somehow or other it cauterized, so it didn't bleed to death. But how amazing are they? I think we really take for granted how amazing they actually are putting up with that much pain, and then for us prodding, poking, turning them over again, all this examination. Pets that are in pain are going to be more aggressive. So I think they're pretty amazing, really, to be honest, the amount that they put up with in the surgery when they're not well by strangers.
So just to round off a little bit before we finish, because I think we're going a little bit over our time because we talk too much. Do you have any funny anecdotes or stories for us so we can finish on a nice positive high?
Oh gosh, I got many years ago a bird, a cockatiel I think it was, came into practice, and a chap got it out of the cage and accidentally let it go. And back then we had a filing system, and as I went to the desk, the bird came out through the door and sat on the filing cabinet, and the vet said, "Get that bird," and I got hold of it, and obviously you have to be really careful, don't you, with small birds. I got it, and as I proudly walked into the consult room with this bird, the bird turned around and clamped in between my nail and my finger. And he went, "Oh, by the way, it bites," because I didn't get hold of it properly. I couldn't get it off. I was like, "See, he's got this bird up my finger." Luckily, we turned the lights out and it let go.
All I'm seeing is that old school comic where like the person plays with a crab. Then it like gets stuck to their nose and their hand, and they're just like flailing it all around.
We had one lady, unfortunately, she had a hamster and she got hold of that. It escaped out of its cage and it bit her, and she shook her hand to get it off, and it landed in the oil burner with the candles. It's absolutely fine after we rescued it. And I actually do know this lady, and she was mortified what she'd done. And she actually owned a pet shop. I said, "You just have to sell it as damaged goods." But it was fine. I can't believe it lived. But poor thing.
That is absolutely fantastic. Well, I have to thank you so much, Vicki Cook, for coming on today and being our guest with Animal Behavior Chats and Danielle Beck. I hope we get to have you come back in the future. This was an absolute wonderful chat, and I'm so happy that everything actually worked out for us here. Nothing like wait until the last minute to get the studio up and running. Thank you very much, Miss Danielle Beck, for coming and joining us. And for all of you that would like to subscribe, you can subscribe to Danielle's channel here in your comments below. And you can check us out at #PositivePetAdvice. Go head over to my channel if you guys want to check out any of my new YouTube videos and some of the stuff that's coming with Tea and the Treat Fairy. Thank you so much for coming. This is Neil Hutchins Resto, aka your treat of fairy. Bye-bye.
Bye.